welcome to the world of Sakurel. Yes. What do you think? I'm just looking on my monitor so I can see exactly what you guys see. Oh, gosh. Just right, less fat that way. Sake. Why? I don't know. I had this kind of almost daydream thinking, what would Japanese people have if they had a European kind of like roast turkey lunch? Like a Thanksgiving lunch in America or a Christmas lunch in the UK. Could you do the thing with sake? Because people are always talking about sake being versatile like wine is, and that sommeliers and top restaurants all over the world need to get on with learning about sake, because it's a great alternative to the experiences of drinking beer with food or wine with food. So here are 3 sakes. One I think which would be an amazing aperitif. One which I genuinely think would go well with roast turkey and all the trimmings. And one, if it doesn't exactly go with Christmas pudding, would be a delicious bonne bouche to refresh the palate thereafter before you settle down to a nice James Bond. Okay, so these are from the great brewery of Akashi-Tai. Japan's made from islands. The biggest one in the middle is called Honshu. Sorry, this way up. Looking at it. Tokyo. If you go all the way down the coast, kind of halfway down, almost halfway to Fukuoka and Nagasaki on Kyushu. So it's a long way. You get to Osaka, and next to the wonderful city of Osaka, where all the temples and amazing restaurants are, amazing cuisine, is the city of Kobe. Kobe. Kobe, what's it famous for? Beef, yeah? Kobe beef comes from there, which is the very essence of Wagyu beef. Kobe, in the same way, Kobe is a kind of Wagyu beef, but not all Wagyu beef is Kobe. It's like cognac is brandy, but all brandy is cognac. So if you're going to pimp your Wagyu to the max and have the most expensive beef on earth, it comes from Kobe. Now, if you go west of Kobe inland, sort of across, you get to Akashi, which is a city in its own right. And this brewery is called Akashi-Tai, which means Akashi, the city, and Tai is sea bass. You're not that far from the sea. And, hell, I like sea bass. Anyway, at this point, I feel very compelled to tell you about this. This is a book called Sake and the Wines of Japan by the magnificent, charming, adorable, former prosecuting barrister Anthony Rose, wine writer extraordinaire, has written for the Independent for many, many years. But he has a wonderful way with words, and he's also got one of the most exceptional palates of anybody I've ever met. And the other, literally yesterday, he said, "Are you doing anything about sake? I've written a profile on the owner and the brewery of Akashi-Tai. Here's my book." And he signed it and gave it to me. So this is, although he just said it's definitely not a Christmas present, it feels like one. So thank you, Anthony. I read it, assimilated it. I think it's important that we keep this down to brass tacks, though. Sake, really? Sake with Christmas lunch? Yes, I think this is going to be really, really interesting. I really do. What is sake? It's rice wine from a brewery. So, rice beer? It's rice beer wine. Okay, so, but it's not... It's not Kirin Ichiban. It's not Asahi. Those are beers. And they use rice as a cereal. They use inoculation beer yeast. They produce a beer. And they are excellent, pristine, beautifully made beers. I love Asahi Black. We don't see it much over here. It was being distributed. I'm not sure who does it now. But it's like a cross between a pristine, perfect formed kind of Japanese crystal glass and Guinness. Is kind of turns it into something really, I don't know, just so refreshing and exact and delicious, like you'd imagine from Japan. Now, there are so many different kinds of sake, but what is sake? Sake is effectively an acidulated, fermented rice. You have to start off with a culture, which is made actually in very special factories, and actually Osaka in Japan is famous for producing this koju, which is the pre-funked rice full of mould and everything. And as that mould then ferments your rice going forward. And there are all sorts of steps in the process of making sake. It's unbelievably physically exhausting to make sake in a way that kind of wine I thought was, but really it really isn't. It's about as physically demanding and as disciplinarian as making cheese. You have to get up at 5 a.m. to milk cows, and then you're at bed at 10, and it's physical work all day. And people who devote themselves to making sake, it's a devotion. It really, really is, and it keeps people extremely fit. You've got different grades of sake. You've got that sake that everyone thinks, oh yeah, go to Yo Sushi and have some sake, and they offer a sake in a little bottle, and you can have it warm or cold. Really good sake, not served warm, not blood temperature, not warm, or chilled either. That for that matter, somewhere in between. It's treated and revered the same way we revere the most expensive wines in the world. But most sake, I imagine, drunk in countries like this, are kind of bog standard basic sakes, and they are made the same way, sort of, but all you're doing is getting rice. You polish some of the rough kind of like meal and carbohydrate off the outside of the rice, the husk of the rice, and that produces a huge amount of flour in Japan, which they use for other things, for desserts and God knows what, probably building materials. But inside particularly sake specific rice grains is a large area of protein, just crystal clear grain inside. And if you polish off all the outside of every single rice grain, so you take off all the husk, the bran, and you're left with this pearl, this beautiful, shiny little, what looks like a plastic kind of diamante bead, that's the bit you then turn into sake. The most extreme examples of what we call Junmai Daiginjo, they polish away 70% of the whole grain. So you're just left with that tiny little nugget in the middle. And 70% of those sacks of grain go off to make other things, which just seems to be ludicrous. But those are the extremes that they will go to try and produce a specific product. Some sakes they add spirit to. Now, because sake has such a thick, rich, viscous texture and such an intense aromatic hit, you won't understand it until you've tried it. But if you drink a really, really fragrant Junmai natural, as God intended, unadulterated sake, it's overwhelming in its aroma. It can smell of candy floss, mint, meat characters, passion fruit, chocolate. Just extraordinary, the variety of flavours you get. And now I really get it. Now I've been immersed in the sort of like the subculture of sake just a little bit, dipped a toe in there. It's as exciting as wine, and it just takes a little bit more knowledge to really understand. So some of those wines, those rice wines, are made by adding a bit of alcohol. Now, by adding alcohol, you're not making it more robust like a wine. You know, a wine with added alcohol becomes a sherry, for example, and it's more powerful. No, what you're doing is diluting the texture with pure vodka, and you're diluting the thickness and viscosity and aroma of the drink to make a drink that's more refreshing and light. And then, of course, it can be diluted a little bit. You can moderate the level of alcohol, and in this particular case, for example, we've got a good example of a rice wine or a sake which has gone through those processes. So, Akashi-Tai. Why have I picked Akashi-Tai as a brewery? Well, most premium breweries in Japan, from Hokkaido at the top to Kyushu at the bottom, very many very prestigious producers of sake, particularly in places like Yamagata, which was somewhere where I celebrated a birthday some years ago. 1%, 2%, amazingly, if you're lucky, 3 to 5% of their produce is sold outside Japan. Akashi-Tai sells over 50% of its products overseas. They have the same sensibilities, the same respect within their own country for what they do. But what's different? They write it in bloody English, is one of the reasons why. You go on the website, there's an English version. I'm not sure why other people don't do that as much, but clearly Akashi-Tai as a brewery and the owners have a real sense that, you know, the future of sake is out there, not in here, and have kind of jumped the gun and do a wonderful job. So most of the people I know, that if you ask them what their first premium sake was, they go, "Do you know Akashi-Tai?" I say yes. And the first drinks that I drank from this particular brewery are two drinks which are really quite stunning and delicious, but very marginal peripheral in the scheme of serious sake. And that's umeshu and yuzushu, which is a sake which is then infused for a long time with yellow plums or Japanese plums or yuzu citrus in there. And these are most delicious, gorgeous pudding wine style alternatives, which I can only describe to you a little bit if you haven't tried them yourself. But the Japanese take their plums quite seriously, and their cherries, obviously sakura, the beach cherry blossom season. They take all their fruit very seriously, and there's nowhere else in the world where people grow fruit with such perfection. And if you start with a plum flavoured sake or a yuzu citrus flavoured sake, back at you. That's where I started. But let's go, without further ado, into the first one here. This is, I think, a kind of sake. These are all available, by the way, on the Whisky Exchange. I think I mentioned that at the beginning. I'm not sure if I did. Probably didn't. Dawn Davis, wonderful job, chief buyer at Whisky Exchange. Amazing whiskies, amazing wines, everything else. It's an amazing website. Thank you also to Marussia Beverages, who are responsible for the distribution of this. They're based in Paris. Few emails backwards and forwards going, why can't you send me bottles? Because they sent me tiny little miniatures, which I couldn't really do a show about. It wouldn't explain the whole process. And in the end, they finally managed to send me some samples, which I'm extremely grateful for. And I hope this show does you justice. We're 11 minutes in. We haven't had a mouthful of it yet. Okay, so I'm using my Glencairn spirit glasses. You can use any kind of glass, really, to taste sake, but try and make the three the same. So on this bottle, you see this beautiful, beautiful bottle. Look at that. Oh, isn't that nice? But on it, it also says, bring it in. Akashi-Tai, Japanese sake. Honjozo Tokubetsu. Honjozo means they've got a sake and they've added spirit to it to make it more refreshing, crisp, lighter, more ephemeral, easier to drink. Tokubetsu means, but it's not any old crap. This is polished, expensive sake. And usually if it says Tokubetsu, then the rice grains have been polished down to 60% of their original mass. In this case, that's exactly what's happened. It's quite a dry style. It's 15% alcohol, which is not crazy, is it? Very pale in colour. Look at that. Almost watery pale. The nose, the first thing I smell is a warm smell of yellow peach, like almost peach fuzz, like peach skin. In the mouth, there's a slight tartness, like crabapple almost. Then there's a sweetness of the booze, the 15% alcohol comes in. The whole thing pulls together, and it's kind of a melange of kind of like almost vegetable flavours, like sweet carrot and sweet potato, and a hint of banana even. Gosh, I mean, it's amazing when you start looking. This is just knock it back, get drunk on a Friday night with your boss sake of a premium quality. But in Japan, this would be a £7 or £8 sake. By the time it gets here with all the hoo-ha and everything, it's about £19. But it's still, compared to a wine of £20, this is just as fascinating. It's about £19.99, I think, at Whisky Exchange. What a drink! I'm quite sure that would go with a bit of raw salmon as well. I mean, we're talking sashimi here. So if it works with that, then why wouldn't it work with smoked salmon? Yeah? Yeah? Smoked salmon is just smoked sashimi, right? Delicious wine. Delicious. I'm calling it a wine. I think that's okay. Delicious sake. I want to go again. And I think this is their entry level of their premium drinks. And it's designed to be refreshing, quaffable, neckable. I almost don't want to open this. And this is one of the prettiest bottles I've seen all year. Isn't that beautiful? The colours. So this said, Honjozo Tokubetsu at the bottom. Can you see that? This one says, Junmai Daiginjo Genshu. Junmai Daiginjo Genshu means many things. Junmai or Junmai Shu sake is sake that's naturally brewed, no added alcohol. Daiginjo means it's the toppity, bloody top, nub of the fucking nub, top quality sake. So this has had all of the husks and everything polished away from the grains, down to some ludicrous amount, but it's probably below 60%. And from a specific species of rice, which they use in this particular one, which is very, very rare, very special, and ideal for the production of textured, rich, super aromatic, super powerful sake. Also, you saw the word Genshu. Genshu means as God intended. So this is cask strength. This has been made, untouched, filtered, not very heavily. Strained would be a better way to describe it. Cool, let's try this. This is 50 quid, ladies and gentlemen. Sake gets a lot more expensive than that. But you cannot find a better place to learn about sake than Akashi-Tai, because they explain it to you in English. Go on the website, it's amazing. It's a resource of information which is extraordinary. And that label, I mean, God, I want my bedroom to look like that. Oh my God, it's so good. Look at the colour. It's got a beautiful kind of almost vitriol green to it. I can, just by looking at it, see that it's a bit more textured. What we're looking at for alcohol is 16%, so it's a little bit stronger than this. And this is the one that was 40. Oh my God, the whole room smells. I can smell it from here. All right, I'll tell you what it smells like. Okay. Oh my God. Wow. Thanks, Mauricio. I knew it would be worth your while because, Jesus, I mean, God, you've got to try this at least once in your life. Here's the good news. On Whisky Exchange, they do small bottles. I think 30 cl instead of the traditional 72 cl bottles. You've got to try. You've got to try these, man. Seriously. Okay. I'm imagining eating some nice, some buttery, crispy turkey with the skin. Brussels sprout and butter. And I go... That's it. That's it. I'm saving that for Christmas Day. I reckon that'll be better than all the wines that I've recommended on this show over the last 3 or 4 days. I'm not even kidding. I feel very privileged that somebody sent me a 50 quid bottle of sake, but wowee, wowee, this is just the perfect flavour. In my mouth, I can imagine it. It almost tastes like a basting for the turkey. Quite... I'm lost for words. You know how often that happens. Okay, right. Let's go last. Akashi-Tai Junmai Ginjo sparkling sake. Okay. This was Junmai Daiginjo Genshu. So what's the difference in Junmai Ginjo and Junmai Daiginjo? This one is slightly less polished, slightly less aromatic, slightly less extreme. But then it's put into a bottle this size with all the yeast and the stuff in the Kobe or little deposits that are still in the bottle. And then it's treated to a bottle fermentation just like a champagne. This is a sparkling sake. Who knew? Bottle fermented from the Akashi city of Japan. Look at that. Even sounds like champagne when you pour it. Oh, what's it smell of? It smells of tea leaves, like green tea, like sasha tea, like it smells of tea. I mean, fragrant green tea. It smells of lime leaf. Putting a hell of a smile on my face, but it's got this green, wonderful, leafy note to it. A hint of a mouthy orange, I think. But the juice more than the aroma of the leaves, of the fruit or the skin. Okay, so it is sweet, but not very sweet. Sweet like Asti is sweet. And Asti is my first choice with Christmas pudding. I kid you not. It's perfect with Christmas pudding. So this would be the... You're dying of gout by that course of a Christmas lunch after all the excesses of the Christmas week. Something like this would be wonderfully fragrant, wonderfully uplifting. I love the ingredients. Rice, malted rice, water, yeast. Sounds like a German beer. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. I forget the price of this. I think it's about £17 for a bottle this size. 300ml. What can I say? So I've proved to myself, rather than you, that you can drink delicious sake while waiting for Christmas lunch to appear. A brilliant drink with the whole roast turkey and all the trimmings, sprouts included. And then at the end, before James Bond, little palate tickler to refreshen everything up. Sake. Welcome to the world of Sakurel.